Hard Hat's all about showing up to play hard, doing what it takes to win.
If you want to cement legacy, win another.
He's your third center.
You don't want to puff him up too much, but it's hard not to.
This is maybe the most I've ever agreed with you.
Hey, Brian Manning here. Welcome to the Garden Report Sunday night edition. Since we got a Sunday afternoon game between the Celtics and the Knicks, James Edwards III is here from The Athletic, Knicks beat writer. And great to talk to you, James. And interested in just talking about this matchup here, because going into the season, this looked like potentially the biggest threat to the Celtics, a team, a roster that was built to match up with them in some way. And all three games have looked pretty similar so far. Small Knicks competitive stretch, mostly the Celtics raining shots and taking double-digit leads, 20-point leads, pushing to 30. And you leave this game, through three meetings now, and Knicks close to full health, Celtics at full health here, and wonder the Knicks are on Boston's level. That's at least what I'm thinking coming out of this one.
Yeah, I mean, I think the Knicks. It's been shown that there's levels to this, and the Knicks are not in the kind of upper echelon of teams. They're 0-7 against Boston, Cleveland, and Oklahoma City. For the most part, they've handled other teams well, but there are some teams, the teams that are athletic, can get up and down, that do have some switchability that give them a little bit of trouble. Atlanta before the trades, they're 2-1 against Detroit, or 1-2 against Detroit. I'm sorry. They struggled with Chicago pre and post Zach LaVine trade. It's a weird Knicks team. Offensively, they have a lot of weapons. But I think what the Boston series has shown us is that there are ways to slow down that high-powered offense. And then defensively, they have too many holes. And I think people forget that the difference between a championship team and a non-championship team, or at least the drop-off in tiers, is it's not talent. It's which team has the least amount of flaws. And Boston, Cleveland, Oklahoma City have the least amount of flaws in basketball. And the Knicks have some obvious ones that are really kind of rearing their head against these good teams.
Yeah, it's a matchup thing to me to some degree. Yeah, the Celtics are so good at targeting mismatches, and you have several on the New York side, even with the new wing defenders. And, when Towns has to play the 5 and Brunson's at the point of attack when they're going at him, it's tough. And there were a lot of pick and rolls in this game where the Celtics just got whatever they wanted. The depth, another advantage for Boston, as you say there. I don't think it's such a mismatch, though, where it should be this lopsided. And I know the Celtics have gotten hot from threes in a couple of games. And when that happens, it's going to be a 20, 30, sometimes 40-point game. But even tonight, I'm just sitting there in the first half. I think it got to like 21 by halftime. And it's like, the Knicks should be closer than this. Maybe they can't beat Boston. Maybe they can't win any given game against them. But the way it's been mostly uncompetitive through most of these three games so far is pretty shocking to me. And I know Mitchell Robinson's out and OG missed the second game, and it's a pretty thin Knicks team. You can't really afford to lose too many guys. But that, to me, I'm walking away from this game again here just like, wow, the Knicks really can't even compete. I know they had the third quarter there, but it's mostly just been all Celtics.
Yeah, and I would imagine a lot of Knicks fans are dumbfounded about how these have gone. But it kind of goes back to what I say, right? Like, the Celtics are tremendous at hunting mismatches. The Knicks, no matter what combinations they throw out there defensively, are always going to have some form of mismatches out there. The Jalen Brunson tries defensively. It's not a knock on him, right? He has physical limitations. Same with Campaign. Like, they're a smaller backcourt. And then you look in the front court, and listen, I don't blame Cat for the struggles that he has defensively. Like, he is at this point what he is. The Knicks knew what he was defensively when they traded for him. He's a world-class offensive player. But defensively, he has limitations. And for the Knicks to maximize their offense, they have to play him at the 5. That's where you get the most maximum spacing, the most kind of maximum gravity. But with that, he has to play defense at the 5. And there just comes some flaws with that. Now, what separates Boston from the rest is while Boston hunts mismatches, the Celtics don't really have mismatches to hunt.
Yep.
They are welcoming Cat posting up Drew Holiday because Drew Holiday is a power forward in a point guard's body. Like Drew Holiday is a tremendous post defender, no matter who he's defending. Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown are strong wings who can score and defend. Porzingis is able to play off of the non-shooter. They're baiting Cat into driving as opposed to shooting, and Porzingis is able to help off and crowd the paint and crowd the rim. And the Knicks just have just one too many flaws that the Celtics don't have. It's easier for the Knicks or the Celtics to create advantages because of those loose ends that the Knicks have, and it's harder for the Knicks on the other end, which they have a team that, in my mind, like they ended up getting to 36 threes or 39 threes in this game. I think they were at like 15 at halftime. But even since January 1st, this has been second. They've been second to last in 3-point attempts. It's not a team that has guys that have a quick trigger. You see guys like Tatum and Pritchard and Porzingis, like even when they do have a sliver of space, they let it fly. And because they're such good shooters, it benefits the Celtics often. They make those shots. The Knicks don't really have guys that have kind of that built-in quick trigger where they're shooting with a little bit of space, and they end up putting the ball on the ground. And then the Celtics are such a big team and such a strong defensive team that they're able to kind of frustrate them once they do. And then ultimately, the Knicks just don't have they have one shot creator. It's Jalen Brunson. A guy who can put the ball on the floor and break down the defense. And in today's NBA, we've learned like you need multiple ball handlers, multiple guys who can create. And the Knicks kind of lost that in the trades over the last month or so, or last year or so. Obviously, Julius Randle has his own flaws, but he's a guy that could put the ball on the floor and create an advantage. They lost Dante DiVincenzo. It's just a team that has just one too many flaws, and the Celtics just don't have any. They don't. Did the Celtics shoot bad or not? That's how you catch the Celtics.
Yeah. And injuries or whatever else might come up there.
Right.
So that's the conversation coming out of this game, and I'm sure it will be going into the start of the week here, especially after the Cavs blowout loss too, which preceded this. Were they the right moves? Moving on from Randall and DiVincenzo to go get Cat, effectively letting Hartenstein and some other additional depth there go to get Bridges, picks as well. You go all in with that move. I'm still not going to go there because it's been such a successful season overall. There's still a chance in the postseason and with Mitchell Robinson's return, and we'll get to that in a little bit, that they can remake themselves or catch fire or maybe catch a break and have a successful season, maybe get to the conference finals where they did in a year ago. It's going to be tough since they're stuck in that bracket with Boston, it looks like here. But I just can't go there, especially you look at the season Randall's had in Minnesota and the injury now and money, contract negotiation there looming. Hartenstein's great. I think he brought a lot of heart and identity to the team a year ago and just physicality that did bother Boston. But do you want to sign him for $30 million and over having Cat there when you're just comparing those two? I think you choose Cat even with the limitations. The Bridges thing is just so weird, though, and he was such a non-factor in this game, and that's happened at times this year where you're like, all right, you have this guy who's good on the ball, who's able to do a lot of things on the ball in Phoenix, even in Brooklyn, having that great season, and New York, he's just a little more off the ball in the corner, ancillary offensive piece. And so coming out of this game, I know Towns is going to get some flack and Brunson or whoever else. But it's really Bridges to me. If you're going to look back and nitpick these moves, it's like, did he bring enough to the Knicks that they didn't already have? And I think that's going to be the question if you do go back and second guess some of the moves here.
Yeah, I think for me, when you look back in hindsight on the moves, it's not the value that they got for Cat. I have no issue with, and I want to repeat. I think Cat is a tremendous player.
I
It's
mean,
just I
he's been in
wrote when,
MVP conversation a little bit
yeah,
this
for
year.
sure, tremendous player. I just wrote when the trade happened that I don't think that the move made the Knicks better. It just made them different. And that's what we're seeing. We're seeing a really good offense become an elite offense, and we were seeing a really good defense become an average, below average defense. And the offense has helped make up for some of the defensive drop off, but it's not enough. And you see it against the best teams in basketball. The McHale trade, listen, I think very few players are worth, like, it's not McHale's fault he got traded for 5 firsts, right? Like
Yeah.
but and I don't know what player they expected. Obviously, they haven't used him in too often in a secondary like creator role. It felt like they were looking for a very much like elite 3-and-D point of attack, hit the corner threes. But even then, like he's shooting below 30% on above the break threes. He doesn't really get to the rim unless it's on cuts. When he does do dribble drive creation, a lot of it ends in a mid range jump shot. So he's not. I think he's only shot in 52 free throws this season.
Wow.
It's you don't you get. I understand trading for McHale because you can understand how a guy with his skill set impacts any team across the league in a positive way. My thing is, and again, we're doing this in hindsight, is there not a player was there not a player who you could do that could like bring 80% of that for 1 or 2 picks? You have a similar record, but then you're able to do stuff at the deadline because you still have multiple picks, or you're still able to keep yourself available this summer if somebody like Giannis became available or Devin Booker or anything like that, right? Like now they're in trouble. They're really the only valuable thing they have is a 2030 pick swap.
Well, that's
Um,
why it all kind of loops together, because I guess what you could say is DiVincenzo would do some of that stuff. And
yes.
then you'd have Randall as additional shot creation. And I don't know, is Hartenstein there at that point? I forget how all the
Oh, the other thing with
logistics
him
work there.
is they couldn't. The Knicks could only go so high in offering them a deal. Oklahoma City could offer more, which is ultimately
Yeah.
why they lost him. I forget. I think the
So
max. I forget what the max was for Hardenstein, but OKC could offer more.
he's probably still gone in that scenario. And that's the tough
He's
part
still
here,
gone. Yeah.
because Bogdanovich goes out the door for Bridges. He hasn't played this year and won't. DiVincenzo goes out and hasn't had the best season, as neither is Randall out there in Minnesota. And who knows how it works if you just keep the group together. Like, it might not have gone exactly as it did the year before, where it looked so great. But you do question, because everything was all in. And so this is a team now. There's no depth pieces. There's no help. There's no picks and rookies or anything like that coming into the mix here to help. It's just
It
this
is what.
group.
And to your point, they had the benefit of the doubt if they would have just ran it back, right? Like Knicks fans were so excited about what this team did last year. I think they would have been okay with running it back and see what would have happened with more health. But what the Knicks did is put expectations on themselves by trading 5 firsts for Bridges, trading. They knew they weren't going to resign Randall, adding DiVincenzo and another pick to get Cat, who just started his big massive deal. You're signaling that that we're going all in for a championship. They were they did such a good job of slow playing their process and building what appeared to be um, sustainable, and you could add pieces and you could just like a rolling snowball of positivity. But then they decided to kind of rush it and do the Bridges trade, do the Cat trade. Now they're kind of stuck, and yeah, they're going to need to add depth at some point. If you want to use, people say Mitchell Robinson could be the missing piece. I guess he could, but I don't think it's fair to expect a 7-footer with an injury history who's just coming off a foot injury to be healthy.
So I
Like I
want to
wouldn't
get into
expect that.
that.
Yeah.
I want to get into it, because that's the one thing we haven't seen between these teams at this point. Real quick, I want to shout out Prize Picks, our sponsor here. Go over there, use the code CLNS, play $50, play $5, get $50 instantly. You know the deal. Pick more or less on at least 2 players for a shot to win up to 1,000 times your cash. Run your game all season long on Prize Picks, even with the All-Star game in the past. A lot of great games going on right now. It was a great slate today as well. Jimmy Butler, Steph Curry teaming up and getting a big win. If you think Curry's going to hit more than 5 3-pointers next week, or Giannis is going to have more than 35 points, you can cook up these takes. Again, you just need 2. They do free squares a lot too, which is a great feature to get you half of that team. And again, you can win up to 1,000 times your money on Prize Picks. And download the app today. Use the code CLNS, and you get $50 instantly when you play your first $5 lineup. That's $50 instantly when you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, run your game. So, Mitchell Robinson, it sounds silly because it's like, oh, Mitchell Robinson comes back and it's going to be completely different. He's not that caliber of player, but he's what they need, I feel like, to slide Cat over to the 4, to play bigger, to maybe just have more size defensively that'll allow them to be a bit more versatile on that end. Towns played well defensively at the 4 in Minnesota. And I know you mentioned earlier there's some offensive repercussions to that, and he's at his best at the 5. But this team just needs defense so badly. And sometimes, the offensive rebounding can be good defense, just stopping transition the other way, putbacks. And Robinson's so good at that. But you just said it. He's been out for so long. Such a major injury, and it just keeps lingering here that you wonder what version, how many minutes, or how close to the player you're going to see previously that he was. And he's not a game-changing player necessarily that's going to change everything here. I think he'll just give them another depth player, another look, and maybe that's enough to actually be competitive in this matchup with Boston.
Yeah, maybe it is. And I understand Knicks fans like excitement to get Mitchell Robinson back, right? But he's not Rudy Gobert, even at his best. And he's a very good when at his best, very good guy, very good in like the playing in more of like a higher up drop and pick and roll, being able to not blitz, but like be able to get up a little bit higher than Cat. Obviously, great offensive rebounder, can block shots, but we don't know what he's going to look like. And then on top of that, I don't know if he's gonna. I don't expect him to be inserted into the starting lineup, even if when he does come back. Like I don't think that's how this is going to work. From my knowledge, they want to keep the starting lineup how it is. Are we? If he's healthy, are we going to see moments where him and Cat are together? Of course, but with that, like, how does that impact their high-powered offense? I think what people forget is yes, the Gobert trade made Minnesota the best defense in basketball and helped the Cat and many others in a lot of ways, but that offense dropped off. If I'm not mistaken, they ranked 18th in offense, 17th in offense, if not lower. Like the offense wasn't humming when the Timberwolves made that run. So what's made the Knicks special is what they've been able to do offensively. Is the defense improvement that much greater with Mitchell Robinson that they could take a step back offensively? I don't know. We'd have to find out. But there's always give and take, and I think at a point we just got to find out and see what version of Mitchell they get. I imagine when he gets back, he's going to be on a minutes restriction. I imagine it's going to be a little bit before he could get a full supplement of minutes, and we don't even know if he can handle that. Like it's just too many question marks in regards to his return to just go out and assume that the Knicks are going to fix a lot of things when he gets back.
So what else do you think of, this matchup, top teams in general, and just the improvement the Knicks need to make here? What's the biggest thing that needs to change in these matchups, in these games, given that it's basically just going to be this group?
Honestly, like I don't know if there's anything that can change without tweaks to the roster. You look at Boston, you look at Cleveland, you look at Oklahoma City. They got multiple ball handlers, creators. They have guys with quick triggers. They have guys defensively who can guard across the board. Like Drew Holiday obviously is a luxury, right? Like he can guard big men at a point in a point guard's body. Oklahoma City has Jalen Williams. Like Cleveland has now a DeAndre Hunter that they can throw out there. But even then, they still have two twin towers back there. Like they're a unique group in themselves. This Knicks team has limitations that I'm not sure that they can overcome against the league's elite teams, because those teams can stymie their elite offense and also take advantage of the mismatches defensively. I'm just not sure that there's anything that they can do without making tweaks to the roster. Um, if you want to switch everything on defense, will that help? Like if you're just putting Cat and Payne or Cat and Brunson in every action, like and you're switching, like is that going to benefit? Like what will that do? It's an interesting dynamic that the Knicks are faced with, because Cat and especially Jalen has had a tremendous season, and Jalen competes defensively. He's just 6 foot, and there's limitations that come with that defensively. So I wish I had like a magic wand that could like fix it. I just think this team is what it is until they're able to add around the margins or make maybe some type of major change to somebody in the starting lineup.
Yeah, it's either going to be that Robinson piece or everybody just playing a little bit better, especially on the wings. I mean, OG since the return here, looking for more there. Bridges, a lot of this season, looking for more there. As far as the Celtics go, I was not panicking, but I was concerned in January when the slip-ups came. I mean, it's funny to think about that compared to some of the issues other teams have here, but just by their standards, they weren't themselves in January. February, though, you're looking at a team today and other spots since they've come back from the break and into February where they look like that team again. And so my question goes from being, oh, is there any concern here, to is this team inevitable? And with Porzingis out there and White playing the way he did, and just a stellar fourth quarter from him, and Holiday being back to a closer version of himself, and especially Tatum doing what Tatum's doing right now, the last 5-10 games, they feel inevitable again. Now, health can change that. There's teams out west that I'm interested to see them play again, specifically Oklahoma City, who just mashed them the first time they played. So I'm not going to call them inevitable, but when the threes fall, it is tough to see anybody beating this team.
I agree. I don't want to disrespect Cleveland because what they've done has been phenomenal. I do think they present challenges for Boston, um, particularly in being able to defend the rim, being able to have versatility with their lineups, having multiple shot creators. If I'm not mistaken, Boston blasted them once this year and kind of let one slip away. The one Cleveland won. If they play again this week, right?
Yeah, then there was a third one that was pretty competitive, but Boston pulled away late.
Yeah, so I tend to think Boston's the runaway in the East, uh, but I would love to see a Boston Oklahoma City series. That I would probably lean toward the champs because I'm a man of respect. To be the champs, you got to beat the champs. But man, that Oklahoma City team is something dangerous.
The Cleveland thing's so tough. I don't know what to do with it. The matchups head to head so far, they definitely lean in Boston's favor, and just the rosters and everything else you look at there. But they've just been at their best when they're healthy, and then under the new coaching this year. I mean, you just saw it against the Knicks, and for pretty much this whole season, you look at the numbers, you look at their offense specifically, which is just worlds away from what they've been in recent years. And they have this profile of a team that is legitimately championship caliber. And sometimes you look at that and you're like, oh, regular season or this or that, or, just come up with all these ways to talk yourself out of it. But they're legit. Now, I don't know if they match up with Boston. Like when you get into a series head to head, like they might actually need the break of Boston losing early and, getting the Knicks in the East Finals or something like that. But I'm not going to rule out them winning the championship this year, Cleveland,
Yeah,
because their roster's great and their coach is
Yeah.
amazing and they just win every game. They've done it all
Yep.
year.
They shoot a lot of threes. They make a lot of threes. They have a back line that's as good as any in basketball. They've added some versatility. They're deep. Another team that's like you go down to Sam Merrill, who can give you good minutes, right?
They
Like
have like
Ty
7
Jerome was
wings.
almost out of the league. Yeah. Um, they again, a lot of what makes the best teams is not talent, it's limited flaws. And yes, are Garland and Mitchell in a series like do you worry about them defensively? You do. But you have two of the best big men defenders behind them. And it gives them a chance and it helps limit some of those flaws and limitations. Um, yeah, I don't want to rule them out. I still think Knicks fans remember what they did to them a few years ago and are kind of hoping that they find a way to match up with Cleveland. But I certainly think this is a much different Cleveland team than that team of 2 years ago in terms of their profile and the type of shots that they're getting and just how they're flowing. But yeah, I don't want to rule out Cleveland either. I think it. I would put a large sum of money that Boston, Cleveland, or Oklahoma City are going to win the NBA championship. I just think those three are worlds better than anybody else in basketball.
Yeah, and we'll see what happens in the West. Thunder Celtics has felt inevitable more than anything, whichever the two sides of those teams you fall on. But the West is so crazy, and it's changing rapidly too with the Luka trade and Denver getting going now a little bit, and Memphis has been great all year long too. So Thunder actually have to get through the West, but they'll probably have home court over Boston if it comes to that. We'll see what the next game looks like in March. Celtics got the Cavs on Friday for the final time, so we're gonna see all these teams play against each other pretty soon. Once again, Celtics don't see the Knicks until April, so we'll see what both of those teams look like by then. What's this year been like for you, man? Obviously, last time you were on here, you were a Pistons beat writer.
Yeah.
I do find it funny that they have this awesome, fun, epic turnaround season the year you leave after probably covering the worst season almost any team has had over the last decade here. So, but
Yeah. I'm
I guess
reminded
the
of that
Knicks
a
have been
lot.
interesting to cover.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I've enjoyed being here in New York. The locker room, it's a bunch of really good dudes. Still getting to know some of them. Some I have better relationships with than others. Um, as I knew coming in, there's difference in terms of the access and the relationship with the media. In Detroit, it's a very media friendly market. You're allowed to kind of get to know the players on a human level, and it helps create some stories that I think really resonated with people. And here it takes a little bit longer to get those through just because of the access and how they operate with there. But it's a bunch of good people that I've so far. It's definitely different uh, coming into a situation where the expectations were very high. And seeing everybody's just been kind of waiting for the playoffs at this point. But yeah, it's definitely been different both professionally and personally. Um, Getting used to it, and then of course, as only the basketball gods would do, it's lining up for a Knicks Pistons first round series. So that's of course they wouldn't have it any other way.
That actually looks super likely at this point. And we haven't talked about the Pistons all year on here or in Boston or in general. And I feel like few people outside of Detroit in the East have this year. But if you watch them, they're good. Like it is
They're like an
crazy, but
actually good basketball team. Yeah,
they're really good, and they have a lot of really good players. And you said that last year, and for whatever reason, the coaching or Killian Hayes playing a lot or whatever it was, it just didn't work. Injuries, but you now have an all-star, maybe all-NBA player at the center of it in Cade, who's figured it out at this point. You have Beasley, who came in as probably the most underrated addition of the offseason, and he's one of the league leaders in threes, period, this year. Stored and Dern and all the way down the line. I mean, if they snuck past the Knicks round one, which I can't completely rule out, that would actually be a bit of a rock fight for the Celtics in round two. And Detroit's played Boston well over the years. Maybe it's a first-round series that's tougher than a first-round series should be if it ends up being like a 2-7. But I feel like we have to start talking about the Pistons a little bit.
Yeah, no, certainly. I think Cade getting spacing around him has been phenomenal. I've always kind of made it clear that when people were down on Cade or thought he was part of the problem, that kid can play and he's really good. And as soon as they got some spacing around him, he took off. And he was really, I thought he was pretty good last year too, to be fair. And then, yeah, like you said, Malik Beasley's been great. Tobias Harris, since Jaden Ivey went down, has been phenomenal. Isaiah Stewart's been one of the best rim protectors in basketball. Jalen Duren has really picked up his play lately. Asar Thompson, I mean, both the Thompson twins are phenomenal players. And Ron Holland, the rookie, they've gotten a lot of like kind of feisty things out of. And credit to JB Bickerstaff, man. A lot of people want to give Cleveland and Kenny Atkinson a pat on the back, and as they should. But JB had the hardest job, man, in basketball. And you would not know that this team won 14 games a year ago. They play hard. They're really solid defensively. They got an identity. He's got some feistiness to him. He's always yelling at the refs. He's always sticking up for his players, and I think that goes a long way. They're a feisty team, man. And when you got one of them guys, which is Cade is one of them guys, and as you know, in basketball, that can take you a long way. I wouldn't pick them over a series with the Knicks yet, but I will say that the Knicks are the Pistons are 2-1 against New York this year. So there's clearly some things there that New York would have to clean up if they were to face off against one another.
Yeah, who would have thought Indiana would beat New York a year ago? But so Knicks got hurt, Indy got rolling, and they ended up escaping that series. And it was kind of a similar setup there going into that one. Last thing I got for you, Tatum. Talking about one of those guys. He's getting rolling here, and you saw him in that MSG Knicks game. Probably his vintage performance of the season with the third quarter he had there. That just flowed into a bunch of ginormous games into the break. This one, he almost gets back-to-back triple-doubles here. I don't even know what to ask about him because the conversation around him is just so weird because he's right up there with anyone. You could probably make the argument that he's the best player in the league, but you got the Jokic's and Lukas and all those guys up there, SGAs, that are just a little bit ahead of him. I think even Celtics fans could admit that. And then there's this whole face of the league conversation we're having too, where he could be that, but it doesn't seem like anyone wants to call him that, at least outside of Boston here. How do you view him at this point from an outside lens?
He's a bad man. I think what hurts him is he had so much success early that people don't realize he's as young as he is still. Like, he very much can be the face of the league. He's what, 26, 25?
Yep.
Like, he's just hitting his prime. And I think another thing, I remember when I first started covering the league, and I can't remember what year he came in. I think it might have been my first year if he came in with Luke Kennard. I can't remember if they came in the same year or not. I think so.
I believe so, yeah.
Tatum's a big dude. Like, you don't realize, like, Tatum's a legit 6'10". Big guy. Like, he defends he defends well, he can score, he's strong, he can shoot. There's nothing he can't do on a basketball court.
So that's where I was gonna go.
Yeah.
Forget the shooting and the passing and whatever else. The fact that you can line him up on Towns to start a game like this. No one talks about that, but that's everything. That's everything.
Yep. You can put him on Towns. You can ask him to stay in front of McHale and OG. Like, the dude competes his ass off. He's big and strong, long arms. I think, I don't know why he doesn't get the talk and all that. And again, maybe it's because I think part of it is he was too good, too young, and part of too good of teams too young, that we kind of just put him in the, like, not quite the younger class, but like, he's more, I feel like people more consider him an elder statesman than a young guy, and because of how soon he came in and impacted the game. But he just has no flaws, man. No flaws. Um, and yeah, if you've never seen Jason Tatum in person, he is much bigger of a dude than you think. Dude is legit 6'10", if not taller, broad shoulders, and it's hard to stay in front of him and it's hard to get past him.
Yeah, and now that you add in the passing layer, and
Yep.
it's there every game now. I mean, ginormous passes throughout this one. The skip pass to Pritchard, I thought, was one of the most important plays of the game after the Knicks got within 4. And then he can create a shot from pretty much anywhere. So we'll nitpick him. Maybe it's a Celtics thing. People don't like the Celtics, and he's the face of the team. I think that's probably a little bit of a part of it too, and maybe even a personality thing because he's not some of these other big personalities. But the resume's there, and when he gets rolling like this, I do like to defend him because he gets a lot of crap. He's James Edwards. Appreciate you stopping here, man. Been meaning to talk to you for a minute here, so I appreciate you making some time here during your year, and love that you're on the Knicks beat now and close by, and hope you're enjoying New York, man.
I appreciate it, man. Yes, sir. I couldn't get on last time they played. Just a bunch of craziness going on. Glad we could do it, and yeah, man. I'm sure I'll see you fairly frequently here in the next month and a half.
I think we're gonna get that series I was looking for last year. So looking forward to it. Celtics 2 seed, Knicks 3. How many games do they have over the 4 at this point? Are they pretty locked in, you feel like?
Yeah, I think a lot would have to go wrong. But the Knicks are about to go out west. They have a pretty rough schedule after Philly. They got Memphis and Memphis, Miami and Miami, out west for Lakers, Clippers back to back, Kings, Golden State, Portland. Like it's not the easiest of schedules here, but I think they're up 4 games. That's a lot of ground to make up for if you're Indiana, but I think we're pretty locked in at the 2 and the 3 with those 2 teams.
Yeah, and hopefully nothing goes weird like last year that prevents that series from happening. Because I was really looking forward to that last year before it ended up being Indiana in these
Yeah,
finals.
hopefully everybody's healthy and we get the best of the best with those 2 teams.
All right, check them out in The Athletic, as well as over on Twitter there at JL Edwards 3. So that's it. We'll see you on Tuesday. We'll have remote coverage of Celtics Raptors as the Celtics jump into a back-to-back midweek here on the road. We'll see you then. This has been a Sunday edition of the Garden Report.